Hello, everyone. Welcome to Concordia University's Force Space. Thank you so much for joining us for today's event, Concordia's 3-minute thesis competition, Ma thèse en 180 secondes. We would like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands in Chichage, Montreal, and we respect the continued connections with past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. Here at ForceSpace, we work with our university community to help mobilize knowledge, co-creating daily activities that examine research questions and projects, things happening all across the university. Now, we're sharing this competition as a live stream, both to YouTube and as a Zoom meeting. So if you're joining us via Zoom, we welcome comments and questions via the chat, and we'll work those into a Q&A a little bit after the presentations. For those of you here in the space, similar idea, we'll run a microphone around if you have questions a little bit later on. And finally, we will be running an online survey following the presentations for a People's Choice Award. You will see, if you're joining us by Zoom or YouTube, you will see a QR code visible in the Zoom on the main title screen. Those of you here in our space, you'll see that QR code on our large screen as well. Okay. It's very much my pleasure now to pass things over to our MC for the competition today, as well as a doctoral student in biology. And the first place winner of last year's competition, Megan McManus, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the 2026 Concordia 3-minute thesis competition. My name is Megan McManus, and I will be your Masters of Ceremonies for today. Justement, c'est un honneur être l'animatrice de la 15e compétition organisée ici à Concordia. C'est une compétition magnifique qui permet de mettre l'accent sur les présentations puis sur la recherche incroyable qui se passe ici à Concordia. Thank you so much for coming here in person and through the online Zoom or YouTube link to support our participants today. You will have a sight to see. They will be presenting in front of our famous judges, our infamous judges who have taken the lovely time this afternoon to challenge, to choose the winners. And you guys are in for a treat. As a participant in last year's competition, I can attest that it's really good to be able to tell research in a way that's simplified for a general audience. Imagine writing an 80-page document. So an 80-page thesis that would normally take you over 5-6 hours to read, and then cramming it into a 3-minute presentation. It's not easy. On top of that, you have to add the stage presence and the memorization, making it an extra large challenge. Having been a guest for this year's presenters, I can attest that they have stepped up to the plate and will give you the most amazing competition this year. So a little round. To our presenters today, you have worked so hard to get to where you are today, so enjoy it fully. I know, adrenaline's high. The heart rate's a little high, chest is a little tight. I have to admit, I kind of feel the same right now. And just remember to breathe, to smile, and I know you all will do amazing. And also, last note, before we head into the outline of today, we will have a great thank you for whoever the audience today showing up. You will witness amazing presentations, and I'm excited for you all to listen and learn in 3 minutes or less about the outstanding research that happens here at Concordia. Now, for a brief overview of the program today, we have 15 presenters. This will be separated into 2 rounds, separated by a small break. After the 2 rounds are completed, there will be a People's Choice Award. So the presenters throw the ball into your court. So your job will be to vote for your favorite presenter through either a QR code or a link that will be here in person available, or also available through the chats on the online platforms. Once after the voting, there will be a little time for a question and answer. So for this element here, we'll be able to ask the participants specifically about their journey, about what is their passion to start their research, all of the above. I highly recommend for those of you in the Zoom chat to post your questions in the chat so that we can, with the force space, read them out and have them delivered to our participants during that period. And then finally, while this is all taking place, our judges are working furiously hard in the back to determine what the competition winners are gonna be. So then they come out and announce the winners. So now the next step is that I would like to welcome Dr. Jordan LeBel, Associate Dean of Academic Programs and Development, to say a few words.
Thank you, Megan. Why are you applauding? I haven't done or said anything. Save that till the end, then you can decide if it's worth it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for making it downtown. Thank you to those who are joining us online. On behalf of the School of Graduate Studies, I am ecstatic, delighted, over the moon to welcome you to the 15th edition of the 3-minute thesis competition here at Concordia. Now, you might detect a little bit of energy and enthusiasm in my voice. That's no accident. To say that I'm happy to be here would be a gross understatement. Now, I'm deviating from the notes you prepared, Rasha. I'm really sorry. She's over there sweating bullets because I'm deviating. You see, in 2003, I introduced an online course titled Marketing Yourself with my now retired colleague, Harold Simpkins. And in that course, we were trying to give students marketing tools to promote themselves, to tell the world about their awesomeness, their superpower, and their impact. So I've long been a supporter of the idea that students, graduate or undergraduate, need to develop that skill, to tell the world about their awesomeness, to tell the world about the impact they wish to have. And that's really the point of the 3-minute thesis competition. The challenge of the 3-minute thesis competition, as Megan alluded to, is to clearly and compellingly communicate the essence of what you're working on and its impact and its contribution to the world in just 3 minutes with just one static slide. And to do this, not to people that you know and speak the same language, but to do this to an audience who know nothing of your work, nothing of your field. Think of how difficult that can be. But more than that, and I'd like to take a step back. It says PhD at the end of my name, so I'm supposed to be reflective and, somewhat conceptual. And when you think about it, the 3-minute thesis competition is about more than that. It's about the power of words. And on a day-to-day basis, we sometimes don't necessarily always attend to the power of our words. Words can inspire, they can motivate, they can heal, they can comfort, they can help us bond, connect, overcome our differences, and we need some of that right now. So really, it's about using our words for good. Now, I've been invited to attend a coaching session a few weeks ago. I saw firsthand that the people you're about to hear have surmounted Everest. One of them is surviving Rasha and her cutting, insightful comments and challenges. So you're in for a treat. Get ready. Get ready to be inspired. Get ready to be touched, to be comforted, perhaps also to be healed also. And what I would like to ask you is, as you leave today, try to ask yourself how you may use your own words to do the same and pass it or pay it forward. Now, over the past 15 years, the 3-minute thesis competition has brought much pride to Concordia. We have a lot to celebrate. Our students have won the national championship 3 times. Ana Maria Medina Ramirez in 2016, Nusha Arezi in 2019, and most recently Ria Dutta in 2023. Ria actually went on to represent Concordia and Canada at the North American level. How amazing is that? For those joining us for the first time for the 3-minute thesis competition, let me briefly share a little bit of context. The global competition started in Australia at the University of Queensland in 2008, and in a short amount of time, it grew exponentially. Today, the same competition is held in nearly 900 universities across 85 countries. How cool and amazing is that? The concept has also been adapted into other languages, including in French, where it's known as Ma thèse en 180 secondes. At Concordia, this competition is part of a broader effort that we've put in place at the School of Graduate Studies to help our students develop strong professional skills, including communication skills. We do this through the Grad Pro Skills program, which is the school's graduate professional skills development, workshops, and various events. If you don't know about Grad Pro Skills, I highly recommend that you look into it because we offer very valuable workshops and events as well. Rather than limiting the participation to students who want to compete, we've actually opened the training to anyone who wishes to participate. It allows students to learn firsthand how to condense their research and to summarize their impact in a few words. And in the process, they learn that sometimes less is more, right? The training program itself requires quite a significant commitment, over 20 hours of training and repetition, dry runs, as I said, surviving Rasha's insightful comments. This year, 30 graduate students joined the training program, and we have 15 finalists here today. As I said, I've had the opportunity to witness firsthand the transformation that goes on as students practice and rehearse and shorten their presentation. They go from a jargon and acronym-filled type of presentation to something succinct, compelling, clear, and you'll see the result of that. After the presentations, our judges will select a winner, a first runner-up, a second runner-up, and you'll have the chance, Megan will walk you through all of that, to cast your vote for the People's Choice Award. Our winners go on to represent Concordia at the virtual Northeastern Association of Graduate Schools. That's coming up on April 22nd. And then on June 5th, they go on to represent Concordia at the 3-minute thesis Eastern Regional Competition that's hosted this year by St. Mary's University. So Halifax, beginning of June. That's pretty cool. It's nice and beautiful over there. I would like to take a minute to congratulate all those who participated this year, not just the finalists. Finalists certainly deserve a big congratulations, but also anyone who participated and went through that demanding training. I would like to thank our coaches. We have a number of permanent coaches that are part of our Graduate Pro Skills program. I would like to recognize Althea Thompson, Busayo, who's here, and Jacob. Where's Jacob? Over in the back. Thank you so much for all the care, the passion that you bring to the role. Much appreciated. And finally, before I hand it over back to Megan, I would like to thank the folks from Fourth Space. They've been a long-standing partner of the 3-minute thesis. They've provided a lot of great support in this fantastic space, so thank you so much. Really appreciate. And now I invite Megan, the 2025 winner of the Concordia Ma thèse en 180 secondes and the 3-minute thesis competition, to come back and get us started. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. LeBel. Great introduction. Now, moving on to introducing our judges who have taken the time this afternoon to be with us and choose the winners of today's competition. Our first judge is Dr. Mark Watson, a chair and associate professor in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology at Concordia University. An action anthropologist, he has worked for many years on issues of urban migration with the indigenous Ainu people in Japan, as well as with Inuit community partners in Quebec and across Canada. He is interested in the philosophy and practice of action-oriented and collaborative research, as well as engaged by the ethnographic analysis of radio and other facets of collective life. Our second judge is Kathleen McArvey, Venture Development Associate at Tandem Launch. Kathleen holds a bachelor's degree in physics from the University of Montana from 2010, and a PhD in optical physics from Concordia University in 2020, where her research focused on dispersion engineering in optical ring resonators. After completing her undergraduate studies, she spent several years at an executive search recruitment firm in Paris, France, before moving to Montreal to pursue her graduate studies. Kathleen is currently part of the venture development team at Tandem Launch, where she sources technical innovations from academic laboratories and recruits entrepreneurial talent to build deep tech startups in the consumer electronics industry. Our third judge is James Roach, Director of the Black Perspectives Office and Equity Office. As Director of the Black Perspectives Office and Equity Office, James plays a key role in advancing institutional strategies that promote Black perspectives and equity across the university. He is also responsible for implementing recommendations from the final report of the President's Task Force on Anti-Black Racism in partnership with academic units, students, faculty, and community partners. In addition, he chairs the advisory committee on implementing the report's recommendations. James' approach is informed by a deep commitment to equity and anti-racism, and by decades of experience in managing complex projects and institutional communications, both at Concordia and in non-governmental sector. Previously the university's manager of institutional communications, James is a proud alumnus holding a bachelor's in sociology, a master's in corporate communications and public affairs, and a graduate diploma in knowledge management. Thank you all for taking the time this afternoon. We are honored to have you as our judges today. Following this, I will now explain the rules of the competition. So before we jump into the presentations, first off, the first rule is that there is one PowerPoint slide that is static throughout the whole presentation as the person is speaking. Then there is no additional props, nothing else that can be added on to the presentation that will enhance it. The person is the main character. So at this point, there is also, as they go through the presentation, there will be a timer right here that will go up to 3 minutes. It goes from blue to yellow to red. When it reaches red, it's over 3 minutes, the participant is disqualified. Finally, when all the presentations have passed through, the judges will come back and announce the winner. Their decision is final. What are the judges looking at? How will they choose the winner? So first off, the elements of the judging criteria is based on 3 elements. First off, we have comprehension, engagement, and communication. So for these specifically, I'll go through what they all mean. So for the communication aspects, there is the element, did the presentation clearly identify the purpose, the background, and the importance of the research? Then, by the end of the talk, did you understand the impact that the work has? Then we move on to the engagement aspect. So for engagement, was the presentation captivating? Did it keep you locked in? Did you just want to hear more? Then, did it convey general enthusiasm without oversimplifying the topic? Then back to our slide that will be presented here. Does it complement the presentation well when it comes down to what is said and what is being shown on the slide? Afterwards, we have communication. Communication. Did the presenter use easy to understand language? Can it be understood by a general audience? And then finally, did the presentation itself feel structured and a way that was easy to understand? And did the presentation, by the end of it, feel rushed or overly extended? So when it comes down to calculating the time for the presentation itself. after going through that judging criteria, we will choose the winners, of course, and then there will be, all the participants are participating, and there is money on the line. The winner will receive an award of $750, and then we have the first runner-up, which will receive $500. Second runner-up will be $250, and then finally, you will choose the People's Choice Award, and that will be for a grand total of $250. Amazing. So now, before we start into the presentations, I'd like to remind you to please share and support this competition by posting and sharing it on your social media, of course, using the hashtag 3MTCU2026 and Canada3MT. This helps continue this competition, have it be supported, and have participants come back because they know that it happens. Perfect. So now there will be 15 presentations for today, grand total of 15. Now, before we start, I'd like you all to give a round of applause for all the participants that had the courage to participate today. Amazing, ready to go. So our first presenter is Ahmed Nouby Mohamed Hassan from Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science. Ahmed is pursuing a Master's of Applied Science in Building Engineering. His thesis title is Developing a Decision-Making Tool for Informing Early-Stage Resilience Planning, Integrating Probabilistic Simulations and Network Theory. And his 3-minute thesis title is Cities That Listen. Good luck, Ahmed.
When have we lost the right to decide what happens in our cities? Our trees are being cut down during some road maintenance no one is telling us about. Our inefficient buildings are raising energy bills, and we can do nothing about it. In our cities, we live with design decisions that are not ours. They fail to adapt to climate change, yet we, the residents, pay the price of this failure. So what should we do? Who should we talk to? And who listens? A common answer would be participatory resilience. It's the communal participation of making our cities resist, adapt, and maintain function under climate change. But as an architect, I can tell you it's not that easy. Choosing resilient strategies that work well together while reflecting people's opinions is a real challenge. So I developed a decision-making tool. It's an interactive desktop application with over 30 resilience strategies. Think about solar cells, green infrastructure, building envelope measures, and many more. I collected data onto the resilience benefits, like how solar cells support energy goals, for example. I analyzed their technical, economic, environmental, and social aspects, because strategies differ in their complexity, affordability, sustainability, and social acceptance. I also studied their interactions and synergies and conflicts. Then, stakeholders, including designers and people, used the tool to define their needs and preferences, and the tool suggests strategies accordingly. You need shelters from climate events, it will give you resilience hubs, and so on. It does that using probabilistic simulations that predict future outcomes and network theory, which analyzes interactions. As we speak, in a neighborhood in Ontario, developed by our lab partner, I'm applying this tool to enhance resilience. And the results, they are mesmerizing. I aim to bring it to Montreal. So get ready to be heard. Now imagine a future where cities finally open their ears to us, where we share our frustrations, hopes, ideas for change, and shape tomorrow's world. A world with cities that listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Our second presenter is Kayla Toledano from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Kayla is pursuing a PhD in health and exercise science. Her thesis title is Acute and Chronic Effects of Obesity: How the Age of Onset of Obesity Shapes Metabolic Trajectories, Immune Profiles, and Cell Interactions Before and After Weight Loss. And her 3-minute thesis title is Same Title, Different Plot: How Age of Onset Shapes Obesity. Good luck, Kayla.
Do you ever come home after a long day and all you want to do is turn on the TV and watch some Netflix, but all you can find are vague categories like, because you watch Stranger Things, shoving totally different TV shows into one big group as if they all have the same plot line, although they're really nothing alike. This is historically how the field of health has treated obesity. Obesity costs our healthcare system $3.2 billion a year, and yet we do nothing to tailor treatment to the patient. You could have two seemingly identical patients walk into a doctor's office, and on paper, they look exactly the same, but their stories are really nothing alike. One has high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, whereas the other is completely metabolically healthy. How are we treating these people in the same way? But what if we could look at the age of onset of obesity and this could help us understand why these patients look so different from one person to another? This is where my research comes in. I'm looking at comparing people with childhood onset and adult onset obesity before and after weight loss to understand if there are differences in the underlying physiology of these two groups that can help us understand why these people look so different. I'm currently in the recruiting phase of my study, and once recruited, I take some preliminary tests. I take samples of their abdominal fat and thigh fat. I take samples of their thigh muscle. I conduct fitness tests and a body composition scan. Then I put my participants through a weight loss protocol for them to lose 10% of their body weight. I do this by carefully monitoring their diet through specific calorie restriction, and I make them exercise 3 times a week. After they complete their weight loss, I repeat all of those preliminary tests again. I want to look at things like what inflammatory markers are we seeing in their fat? How are the muscle cells and the fat cells communicating with each other? How physically fit are these individuals? And looking at this before and after weight loss can help us understand how healthy moderate weight loss leads to different reactions in different individuals. I want to prove that obesity isn't one genre, one storyline, or one predictable ending. There are so many different plots and overarching outcomes, and if we can tailor treatment to people with obesity, we can not only alleviate the burden on the people suffering from this disease, but we can also alleviate the burden that obesity places on our healthcare system, which affects every single person in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Our third presenter is Britney Vu from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Britney is pursuing a Master's of Arts in Educational Studies. Her thesis title is Growing Up as a Minority. Please don't give us labels. And her 3-minute thesis title is More Than a Label. Good luck, Britney.
Think back to a time when you've been labeled. Even if you've never been labeled, think about the privilege you hold in giving that label. When I was in high school, my former teacher told to my sibling that I have Down syndrome, implying that I was incapable and mislabeled. What if I told you that those words did more than to describe you? What if I told you that these words hold power? Labels, they show up everywhere. In schools, families, social gatherings. While they place students and help them rank based on grades, they hold more than that. Ooh. This is where my research comes in. It adds autoethnography, which means I'll be using my personal story to connect and study how the world works. Critical race theory, where I study how systems and rules that are put into place to see how people of color are treated. Teaching methods, and lastly, power, to argue that labels are not neutral, but rather they hold power. Now, you might be asking, what am I asking in this research? This is where I ask, what if we stop assuming people for who they are, but rather listen for who they are? The consequences of labeling is that schools doesn't just teach you subjects. It teaches you where you fit in. Think about it. Fit in society, fit in schools. All the cliques are happening. Now, not only do they, assign to where you fit in, but also it either boosts your confidence or it lowers it. It either boxes you into a category and even places you where you are. And while those labels, not only do they follow you around, but you choose whether or not you want to make out of it. Now, you might be asking, why am I here? I'm here to give voice to the minority, the capable minority whose voices have been silenced by the system. While a label may be just one word, but that label can follow you a lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Just a quick note to our judges is the amount of time in between. You guys are good with the note taking? Perfect. Love that. So our next presenter is Snigdhodeb Dutta from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Snigdhodeb is pursuing a PhD in biology. His thesis title is Predicting Climate-Driven Freshwater Fish Collapse, a field-validating early warning system and hydrological refugia for proactive conservation. And his 3-minute thesis title is Before the Silence, Predicting Climate-Driven Fish Collapse. Good luck, Snigdhodeb.
Imagine standing in a mountain stream. The water is so cold, it hurts. Sunlight dances on the surface. You wait for the splash of a fish, but nothing happens. For a long time, climate change felt distant until I heard that silence. The best climate forecaster I know, they don't wear suits. They have fins. That missing fish is the brook trout, a species that survived the last ice age but may not survive upcoming decades. Brook trout are cold water specialists. That means when rivers warms up, they don't slowly fade away, they collapse. And here is the real danger. We recognize collapse only after it happens. So I asked a simple question. What if fish population could warn us before they collapse? Most climate research happens in laboratories, but rivers are not laboratories. That is where my research comes in. I analyzed 14 years of field data of streams from Cape Race, Newfoundland, where I tracked down heat stress season by season until ecosystem breaks. Most studies capture snapshots. I read the whole story. Instead of asking how hot a river gets on one day, I ask how much heat has these fish endured over the years. Think about stress in human. One bad day, you recover. 10 years of stress, you break. Trout population behave the same way. But here is the hopeful part. Some streams don't collapse. Why? Because underground springs keep them cold. natural climate refuges. That means collapse is not inevitable. It is predictable and preventable. My research now follows brook trout across North America to test whether this tipping point can predict collapse range-wide. If I can detect those tipping points early, I can identify vulnerable rivers and protect cold water refuges before they disappear. So, my research turns climate change from a surprise into a forecast. Instead of saying, we lost a fish, we can say, this stream has 5 years, act now. That gives ecosystem time, communities time, and us time. The question is not whether the streams will go silent. The question is whether we'll listen before the silence becomes permanent.
Thank you, Snigdhodeb. Our next presenter is Zareen Suhara Nazeer Ali from the Gino Coady School of Engineering and Computer Science. Zareen is pursuing a Master's of Applied Science in Nanoscience and Nanotechnology. Her thesis title is Development of Photocatalysts from Waste Materials for Capture and Conversion of Carbon Dioxide. And her 3-minute thesis title is From Pollution to Possibility. Good luck, Zareen.
10 years ago, I had lost my first family member to a lung disease. Then, as the years passed by, 2 more had unfortunately lost their lives. None of them had ever smoked or had any risky lifestyle. However, there was one thing common among all of them. They all lived in cities where breathing clean air became a luxury. Though the air we breathe in contains many harmful pollutants, one molecule sits at the heart of it all: carbon dioxide, or CO2. Every year, we release billions of tons of it into the atmosphere. This air traps in heat, worsens air quality, and makes it harder to live in our cities. Current technologies to capture it exist, but they're expensive, energy intensive, and often create more waste in the process. My research asks one question: what if we could capture this carbon dioxide with sunlight? To understand my research, you'll need to know one word: catalyst. A catalyst is a material that can activate a chemical reaction. A photocatalyst does the same thing, but powered by light. When sunlight hits the photocatalyst, it triggers a chemical reaction which can capture the carbon dioxide and convert it into fuel that can be used for other purposes. And these photocatalysts are nanoparticles, which means they're so tiny that they cannot be visible to the naked eye. However, a tiny pinch, like the amount of salt that you use to season your food, contains millions of them, and that is enough to show considerable activity. I plan to design these photocatalysts using recycled materials such as leftover mineral ores and metal slags. And in the laboratory, I'll be testing out different photocatalysts to see which one gives the best carbon dioxide capture activity and which one remains stable after repeated use. Because a good solution must not only work once, it must work sustainably, efficiently, and consistently. Because when I first lost my relatives, I was helpless. I could not change what had happened. But this research gave me hope and a way to act. By finding new materials that can capture carbon dioxide more efficiently, we get closer and closer to clean air, not just for scientists or policymakers, but for families like mine and yours, and for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Zareen. We are now with 2 leftover presenters for the first round. So next up, we have Star Fayard from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Star is pursuing a Master's in Arts and Media Studies. Her thesis title is Land as Teacher in Virtual Worlds, as EU Perspective on Stewardship, Relationality within Digital Environments of Video Games. And her 3-minute thesis title is Land as Teacher in Video Games. Good luck, Star.
Kwe, do you think about your role with the environment sometimes, maybe? Well, as a Korean woman from USG, I was raised to understand what my role was with the environment, where land has a spirit like me. And because land took care of me, it was my job to reciprocate that care back to the environment. And I didn't just learn this through stories and teachings from my people, but by actively playing with the environment and being surrounded by it. Play was pedagogy, and land was my teacher. But this began to change when I got older. I started to play video games, games like Minecraft, where the key to success within this game was by enacting colonial and capitalistic methods, where I was dominating the environment and extracting it, reshaping entire ecosystems for me. There was no relationship in this game. This became dangerous when my own children began to play this game, except my children don't have access to the traditional territories that I grew up on. And instead, their perception of the environment and their role was being shaped by this game. This was more than just a game. This was a teaching space, teaching them their role that is different from mine. But I want to change this. By creating a prototype video game rooted in my people's knowledges, I want to change that structure where the player has to build a relationship with the environment in order to survive. Land is active here, and the player needs to build that relationship in order to understand its needs. But if the player begins to play selfishly, the land will react, where the waters will stop flowing, the plants will stop growing, and the animals will move away, not as punishment, but as consequence, because the land is trying to communicate with the player, and if the player doesn't listen, they can't survive. To create this prototype video game, I'm inviting my people to tell their stories and their values with the environment, where I will incorporate this into a video game for players to understand and foster that through a game. This was to change the structure of game. As Jody Bird once said, colonialism is a structure, not just an event. This isn't just about making a better game, it's about offering a new structure of game where players can reflect on their role with the environment and change that perspective, where they will step out of conquerors and into stewardship and relationship. Because if we can change how people play with the environment, we might change how they live with the land today. Miigwech.
Thank you, Morningstar. Now, our last presenter for the first round is Alexandrya Eaton from the Faculty of Fine Arts. Alexandrya is pursuing a PhD in Humanities Fine Arts. Her thesis title is Grief Cloaks Tactile Processes, Embodied Knowledge, and Performance in Visual Art Research. And her 3-minute thesis title is Threads of Memory. Good luck, Alexandrya.
Have you ever felt a grief that was so overwhelming that you didn't know how you would get through it? I have. I cared for my mother as she disappeared into Alzheimer's dementia for a period of over 10 years. During this time, grief was pressing down on my body. Grief is invisible. Oh my gosh. As a visual artist, my research is looking at incorporating traditional textile techniques into painting, creating soft, tactile, wearable garments, which I then activate with performance, using my body as an additional material. The softness of textiles for me suggests vulnerability. By sharing my grief publicly and making it visible, I intend to encourage more open discussion about loss and mourning. The very slow, tactile methods of making mirror the often repetitive tasks of caregiving. I associate threads in weaving to threads of memory. In weaving, at every intersection, the threads form a connection. In a brain with dementia, when the threads fail to connect, it becomes the moment when a memory is lost forever. We will all feel grief at some point. However, I don't believe our society teaches us how to deal with grief. Whether it is personal or the larger social, political, ecological grief that we all feel from our world in crisis, our busy schedules don't allow us the time to sit and process complicated emotions and loss. With the next steps of my research, which include wearing my painted and woven garments out in public spaces, I intend to transform fear and sadness into colorful, optimistic public artworks imbued with love, hope, and joy. Grief is lonely. I'm working to make grief a little less lonely for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandria. So as you can all see, this is the end of the first round of presentations. So I would like for you all to give a huge round of applause for the people that presented. Presenters, you are all working on amazing projects. It's so inspiring. So now, moving on, we are gonna take a short break. So for those of you in person, feel free, there's a background of snacks and coffee, stretch your legs. And for those of you online, I recommend you do the same. And then also, I know you're gonna have a couple of free minutes, and then I know you are all very supportive human beings. So on that note, I would like to remind you to support this competition by sharing it online and on your social media, because again, this helps this competition continue strong. And now on that note, I would like to say we'll be back in about 5 minutes. So at 2:51 precisely, and I will see you all shortly. Sorry. Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to the second round of presentations. So I would ask you all to just quickly take a seat, because we're gonna start. So now, are we all ready? We're all ready? I see people still running around. We'll take the time. So our first presenter needs to have the calmness that the first round has. So please, guys, just take the time, sit down, have everyone back to where there needs to be. Hope everyone's back on Zoom with us. I know it was a quick break. Stretch your legs quickly. Amazing. I'm gonna wait a couple of time. And that note. Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you back on Zoom, back on YouTube link. We will now start off the second round of presentations. So our first presenter in the second round is Arielle Rousseau from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Arielle is pursuing a PhD in health and exercise science. Her thesis title is Blood Flow Restriction Training and Habitual Physical Activity as Modulators of Maternal Postpartum Recovery. And her 3-minute thesis title is Get Strong, One Dish at a Time. Good luck, Arielle.
Meet my friend Emily. She's 6 weeks postpartum and has just received clearance from her physician to return to physical activity. Yet she's in pain, not sleeping, the house is a mess, and she's to somehow fit in exercise? How is Emily supposed to recover when she can hardly remember to feed herself? Physical activity is very effective in improving postpartum symptoms like weakness, pain, fatigue. It even decreases the effects of postpartum depression, which affects 1 in 4 women. Unfortunately, only 25% of women actually meet the current exercise guidelines for optimal recovery. So wouldn't it be fantastic if Emily could gain strength and increase her functionality with what she's already doing? This is where my research comes in, with blood flow restriction, a method using an elastic band around the limbs to partially limit blood flow. When combined with low-intensity exercise, it tricks your body into thinking you're actually exercising at a much higher intensity. Instead of lifting 100 pounds, you get the same benefits by lifting 20 pounds with blood flow restriction bands. and that's equivalent to an 8-month-old child. So this means that Emily could gain her muscle strength and endurance just by rocking her baby to sleep while wearing these blood flow restriction bands. This method's already being used with injury rehabilitation, clinical populations, and even elite athletes, but research has yet to look at this as a potentially powerful tool for postpartum recovery. Now, Emily's day-to-day involves not only lifting her child, but doing the dishes and picking up the never-ending piles of laundry from the floor. Do those movements remind you of anything? How about a squat, a deadlift, or a lunge? This summer, I will be recruiting postpartum women to wear blood flow restriction bands on their thighs while at home with what they're already doing, not adding more exercise to their already full plates. Besides household tasks, what's the #1 endurance activity most new parents are doing? Walking, often to get their child to sleep or just needing to be out of the house. I will be hosting right here in Montreal a walking group, bringing together mothers to build not only friendships, but muscles like they're training for a marathon. After just 8 weeks, I will be evaluating the changes of their muscles using functional movement tests such as how many times they can sit to stand in 30 seconds or how far they can walk in 6 minutes. I'll be complementing that with self-reported questionnaires based on their fatigue and their pain. Now imagine this. Emily has more energy. She's stronger, and her pain is totally gone. She feels like she can truly take on anything. That is the potential of bringing accessible and effective postpartum exercise alternatives, meeting these women like Emily right where they already are. Thank you.
Thank you, Arielle. Our next presenter is Hamideh Hosseini Toudeshky from the Gina Coady School of Engineering and Computer Science. Hamideh is pursuing a PhD in computer science. Her thesis title is Virtual Reality in Clinical Pathways, Reducing MRI Anxiety and Supporting Spine Surgical Planning. Her 3-minute thesis title is From MRI Anxiety to Readiness. Good luck, Hamideh.
Welcome to the radiology suite. Please remove all jewelry and metal objects. Put on one of these guns and follow me to the MRI room. While inside the MRI, you need to completely stay still in a narrow tunnel for up to 90 minutes. So if you are claustrophobic, please let me know. Also, the machine is very loud. Try not to be alarmed when you hear it. For many patients, the simple instructions don't feel simple at all. Rather, they trigger intense anxiety. MRI is a medical imaging technique used for diagnosis many diseases, including cancer. It also helps monitor treatments. But for many patients, anxiety and claustrophobia are like major barriers. In fact, MRI-related anxiety leads to cancellation over 2 million scans every year. Increased healthcare costs, increased use of sedation, which can be risky, and reduce image quality due to movement. And that's where my research comes in. Current preparation methods like pamphlets and videos are often not enough. Many patients still rely on using sedations. My approach is if patients can safely experience MRI procedures before the real appointment, their anxiety will be reduced. And this is based on a simple principle. Familiarity reduces fear. I developed a virtual reality application that simulates MRI procedures, and the design is like gradual triggered scenarios. All of the patients go through 3 levels, all in VR, from 2D video to 360-degree MRI experience to fully immersive scenario where they feel like they are lying inside the scanner. So far, I tested this application with participants using biosensors aligned with self-reported anxiety. Those who had MRI-related anxiety showed significant reduction after using my application. I also adopted this approach for children, developing virtual, playful animal hospital where they learn how to stay still inside the MRI. Next, I aim to test this application in a real clinical setting with real patients. And also, this approach can be used for other medical procedures that patients feel anxious. most of us, or someone we love will need MRI at some point. By helping patients understand what to expect, by helping patients experience MRI confidently, we can transform one of the most stressful medical procedures into one that feels more manageable. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamideh. Our next presenter is Duane Darren Noel from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Duane is pursuing a PhD in Geography, Urban and Environmental Studies. His thesis title is The Impact of Large-Scale Atmospheric Systems and Long-Term Climate Variability on River Mobility and Flood Mapping. And his 3-minute thesis title is Are Flood Maps Still Accurate When Rivers Move? Good luck, Duane.
You're traveling to your family cottage. Suddenly, you receive a flood warning alert on your phone. Ignoring it, you continue traveling, thinking that your cottage will be safe. But when you arrive, you discover that your basement is flooded, with water reaching the heights of your knees. Upset about your now flooded basement, you start to wonder whether your cottage will be flooded again soon. Well, this is the reality that many homeowners face, unaware that the property is located in a flood zone. And flood maps are created to identify areas that are highly susceptible to flood risks. However, due to the high labor and financial costs to measure the width and the depth of river channels spanning over hundreds of kilometers long, flood maps are rarely updated. But for dynamic rivers, this is problematic. As river channels can migrate, it can become wider or narrower over time. Therefore, would the flood maps of dynamic rivers still be valid in a changing climate? I address this question by examining the impact of river channel changes and future climate change scenarios on flood maps in 2 Quebec rivers located in Charlevoix and the Gaspésie region. And I use a modern flood modeling approach that was developed by Concordia'S own River Management Laboratory, where I use a high-resolution laser scanner to take aerial images of before and after the flood to analyze river channel changes using an environmental data analysis platform. And to create the flood simulations, first, I measured the width and the depth of the river channel to obtain the river's dimensions. Then using the river's dimensions, the water flow, and the land types as inputs into my flood simulator, I generated flood outputs. Then from these flood outputs, I created flood depth maps showing before and after river channel changes, as well as under future climate change scenarios. And I found that major floods that cause river channel changes resulted in increases in total flood depth areas for both rivers. Then, when climate change is considered, most of the flood depth areas that were originally produced by river channel changes were also seen in the future climate change flood simulations. This means that river channel changes have a similar impact on flood maps as future climate change, but it doesn't mean that your house will be safe in the future. And that's the reason why I'm advocating for the monitoring of river channel changes, especially after major floods, due to its impact on flooded areas. And if flood maps are not updated when river channels change, communities, and more importantly, your home and my home will not be safe from floods in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Duane. Our next presenter is Fatemeh Hashemi Nasab from the Faculty of Fine Arts. Fatemeh is pursuing a Master's of Design in Design. Her thesis title is An Alternative Sustainable Pattern Making System, Developing Responsible Design Systems for the Clothing Industry. And her 3-minute thesis title is More Fashion, Less Waste. Good luck, Fatemeh.
Have you ever wanted to dress stylishly, but the high price tag of your favorite fashionable garments made it difficult to afford them? Did you know that one of the reasons those price tags are inflated is because they also include the cost of the wasted fabric in their manufacturing. In clothing industry, about 15% of the total fabric input is wasted as offcuts or scraps during the cutting and sewing phases of the production, which accounts for billions of square meters of fabric waste annually. Not only as clothing buyers, we are paying for this waste, but most of it is either dumped into the landfills or is incinerated, which leads to significant environmental pollution. I have been studying the whole clothing production system, and I have found those gaps and factors that are leading to this waste generation. Therefore, in my research creation, I am aiming to develop an alternative sustainable pattern-making system that is aiming to significantly reduce this textile waste. I am aiming to build, test, and refine this system by using principles of geometry to create efficient pattern layouts that can interlock well, therefore minimize the waste, experimenting with flat 2D pattern making systems to maximize the waste elimination, draping on dress forms to study wasteless shaping, as well as using 2D and 3D softwares to speed up this iteration and prototyping process in developing this system. The findings of my study would provide fashion designers an alternative way of pattern making, enable them to design a variety of sizes, styles, and silhouettes while decreasing the textile waste and potentially decreasing the harmful environmental impacts that are associated with this waste. It also enables the clothing manufacturers to save on textiles, use less fabric, and to be able to market their garments at a lower price point. Consequently, the clothing buyer, which includes all of us, we would be able to purchase and enjoy our fashionable garments at a more affordable pricing. Wouldn't that be great? Thank you.
Thank you, Fatemeh. Our next presenter is Aisha Nafees from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Aisha is pursuing a Master's of Science, Health and Exercise Science. Her thesis title is Sleep Spindle Characteristics as Predictors of Treatment Response to Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Insomnia. And her 3-minute thesis title is Can Brainwaves Predict Better Sleep? Good luck, Aisha.
Can you all close your eyes for 3 seconds and try to stay fully alert? It's hard. You feel sleepy, not alert. Now imagine Sarah, who feels the opposite. She's exhausted, lying in bed with her eyes closed, but her brain refuses to switch off. Every night feels like a battle. That's insomnia. Insomnia is difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, and it affects about 3.5 million Canadians. That could be someone you know, someone you work with, or yourself, especially in a period of high stress or excitement. The current first-line treatment is not medication. It's a therapy that helps people change the thoughts and habits that are keeping them from sleeping well. And it improves sleep for the majority, but 4 in 10 people relapse, like Sarah. So why does this therapy not work for someone like Sarah? Perhaps a closer look at how her brain sleeps will help. Specifically, I want to look at tiny bursts of brain waves that happen during light sleep. You can think of these brain waves as Sarah's sleep guards. They protect her sleep by blocking distractions like noise. Previous research from my lab showed promise in this direction. However, the results were inconclusive due to the lack of a control group. My research addresses this gap. I'm investigating these brainwave trends in participants with insomnia. 60 participants were randomly divided into 2 groups. One received 3 months of the therapy, while the other group, the control, waited the 3 months. My hypothesis is that those participants who start with higher levels of these brainwave sleep guard trends will show more improvement in their sleep following therapy. If this is true, these brain waves could serve as an objective indicator, helping to predict how a person will respond to therapy before therapy even begins. This research could transform insomnia care. Clinicians could use the sleeping brain itself to redirect resources to more tailored treatments. And this may give Sarah and millions like her the right treatment from the start. Now, reimagine Sarah lying in bed. This time, her brain quiet when her eyes are closed, and she wakes up refreshed for the first time in months. That's the potential of predicting therapy success through the sleeping brain itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Our next presenter is Hasti Jahanara from the Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science. Hasti is pursuing a PhD in mechanical engineering. Her thesis title is Achieving Programmable Deformation Using Mechanical Metamaterials for a Robotic Arm. And her 3-minute thesis title is Building Robots One Block at a Time. Good luck, Hasti.
What makes a robot arm safe enough to operate on you and your loved ones? How do we make sure a robot arm is reliable even if something goes wrong? And what if we can achieve that while using less energy? Today, many surgical operations are done through tiny openings on the body using surgical robot arms. These arms need to be accurate and flexible to move through the body without causing any damages to the nearby tissues. Current solution includes these systems with this big control system, which is part of the system that moves the arm. While these solutions are effective, they're also big, costly, and they also make these operations time-consuming. But I am offering a better solution, a hybrid multi-stable robot arm. It's called multi-stable because it's built of multi-stable building blocks that are stacked together. So each building block has multiple resting positions, and it can hold that shape on its own without needing constant power. It is also called hybrid because it is made of 2 types of material, rigid and soft. The rigid part brings stability and strength, and the soft part brings flexibility. My journey with this design started by finding the right geometry through simulations. Then I 3D printed the part and made the prototype. Then I assembled the control system, and finally I ran tests to see the performance of the arm. This journey had many iterations, but I am still not done. I'm trying to improve the control system and make it faster and more reliable. Once I am done, we're going to have this robot arm that is flexible, so it can move through tight spaces. It is also reliable and energy efficient because it can hold a position without needing constant power. And compared to other solutions, it is smaller and simpler, which makes it less costly and more accessible. This design paves the path to having surgical robots that are more accessible to people and less costly, while still reliable. Thank you.
Thank you, Hasti. We are now leading to the end, 2 more presentations for round number 2. Our next presenter is Comfort Akinfenwa from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Comfort is pursuing a PhD in health and exercise science. Her thesis title is Understanding and Redefining E-Health Literacy in an Increasingly Connected World. And her 3-minute thesis title is When Digital Health Fails, It's Not Always the User. Good luck, Comfort.
I got a new phone and there was no audio jack. So I couldn't use my regular earphones. So technology had moved on and I had to adapt. Now imagine if it were about your health. You download the app and at first it feels very useful. But 2 weeks later, there's a software update. Now the frustration begins. So you stop using it and that health routine you have begins to decline. This is more common than you think. Technology is evolving very fast and not always around people. And that's not what we want. And that's where digital health literacy comes in. So my research seeks to understand, or is sought to understand, digital health literacy within the context of digital health in today's world, as against what we had 20 years ago, which was just people finding and understanding health information online. Today, digital health is interactive. We are making health decisions that are influenced by algorithms and AI. Technology is no longer just informing us, it is shaping our behavior. So, digital health literacy has, however, not kept up. So I used a structured consensus method called a Delphi to lead a global team of experts and digital health users from different countries. And we synthesized existing definitions from year 2000. And here is what we found out. That digital health literacy is a fit between people and the technology they're using. And that comes down to three things. The first one is knowledge. Do people understand the health issue and the health system they are interacting with? Two is skills. Do they have the ability to use it for their everyday life? And the third one is context. Does it fit into people's language, people's culture, people's time, and their resources? And with all these three, we've been able to develop the first consensus-based definition of digital health literacy that fits into this world. And we know that because when those three things align, it helps to support a healthier behavior. Because when they don't, even the most sophisticated digital tool fails. And now here's the impact we have. Because now we have a framework that can help us better measure and design digital health tools that adapt to people instead of people adapting to it. Because technology is not just for innovation. It's so that there can be meaningful impact on people's health. So when digital health fails, it's not just always about the users. Sometimes technology was never designed to meet people where they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Comfort. Our last presenter for today is Selina Di Nitto from the Faculty of Arts and Science. Selina is pursuing a Master's of Arts in Child Studies. Her thesis title is Using Low-Tech AAC to Promote Social Communication in Autistic Preschoolers. And her 3-minute thesis title is Shh, the Pictures Are Talking. Good luck, Selina.
No, help, water, toilet. 4 disconnected words, but they allow me to vocalize my thoughts and needs. Now you imagine you wake up tomorrow and you're thirsty, but you can't ask for water. You need to use the bathroom, but you can't say it. You're in danger, but you can't call out. Your voice suddenly gone. For many autistic preschoolers, this isn't imagination, it's their everyday reality. By the age of 5, approximately 30% of autistic preschoolers remain minimally verbal, producing little to no speech. These children are entering preschool without the tools to communicate during play. But play isn't just fun, it's how children learn, connect, take part. We do have tools to help, such as picture-based boards that allow children to point to images to express themselves. Most of the time, the adult holds the board and asks the question, what do you want? However, without the adult's question, these children are stuck, watching, waiting, unable to act for themselves. Almost like every time you had to use the bathroom, you had to wait for someone to ask. Not ideal. So that's where I come in. I'm asking if these picture-based boards can help children initiate communication more. To do this, I'm working one-on-one with 5 autistic preschoolers. I'll be doing play sessions twice a week at local intervention centers. At first, I'll play with children with toys that they enjoy to see how they naturally communicate. Then, I'll introduce the picture-based boards with images of those same toys and model how it can be used to communicate. Over time, I'll step back to see if they begin to use it on their own. I'm eager to see the implementation of these boards help children initiate communication more. I expect the pictures to serve as a visual cue, reminding children, oh, I can point to the picture of the ball to ask for it, almost like that sticky note on your desk that reminds you of what you have to do. By giving children the tools to communicate, we help them take part, not only in play, but in life, building the foundation for social skills, language, and independence. At the heart of this research lies one important question. Can pictures help children move from silent observers to active participants in their world? Thank you.
Thank you, Selina. What amazing presentations. All the presenters can now breathe. And now it is up to you, the people in this room, for the People's Choice Award. So it's voting time. You will have about 10 minutes to vote. But before we get into all this, I'm forgetting all these things. Round of applause for all these presenters. They've done a great job. Now that their stress has lifted, we move on to you. The ball is into your guys' court for voting for your favorite presenter. So how it works, there will be a QR code posted on the screens here, on all the screens apparently, online, Zoom, or if not, there'll be a link. Each one of these elements will send you to a list of all the presenters that have passed today. And then it's just a matter of clicking on which ones you preferred. After the 10 minutes, well, the fourth space will gather all of the votes, and then we will be able to determine the People's Choice Award. In the meantime, the judges will deliberate to try and choose their winner. In the meantime as well, so there's gonna be this 10-minute voting. You guys will come back, we'll do a Q&A, a little question and answer to get the journey of everyone who had participated in the 3-minute thesis and give our judges a little extra time for the choosing of our winners. So I would like to, again, stick to your phones, and I will see you in 10 minutes. Thank you. Hello, welcome back. This has indeed, 10 minutes became a little more than 10 minutes, but voting is always a great time. And then now, we are all ready, have been ready for our lovely question and answer period, where we'll get to learn about the journeys that our participants have been on for the past couple of months. And also, I'd like to remind you, if you have any questions on the Zoom chat, please put them in. We will read them out as we go along. And if ever you do have questions in the audience, please just put up your hand, and then we will come to see you with a microphone. You'll get to answer your questions. And then afterwards, how it'll work, the presenter that's in question will come in and answer the question with this microphone that I'm using currently. Sounds good. Does anyone have a quick question, urgent questions to start off with? I do have a couple, if not.
I can run this microphone over to you if you do.
We have Dr. LeBel.
I think my strategy will be obvious, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about Alexandria's research and what led her to embrace the methodologies that she's embracing. Okay. Alexandria?
Alexandria.
She's still with us? Oh.
Thank you, Dr. LeBel. I've been a visual artist for a long time, working in painting and textiles for about 30 years, and stayed home to raise my children, and then cared for my mother, as I mentioned previously. And then when she passed away, my youngest child left home for university, and I decided to go back to school at that point to do my MFA, which I just completed at Emily Carr University in Vancouver last year, which really led me to want to pursue my research further and add the element of performance. So now I make these grief cloaks, which they're very labor intensive, but I really like the slow methods of working with my hands. It's very calming and relaxing to me, and it helps me think and process. I do think with my hands and by making things, and that's where I am. I'm just in my first year, so I have a long way to go, but I love the community here at Concordia, and I'm looking forward to continuing.
Thank you so much for sharing, Alexandria. It is a difficult topic, and you presented it beautifully. You have a beautiful story. Continue working hard. You're just at the beginning. Now, moving on, does anyone have any burning questions for our participants today? In the chat?
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, but if you do add them there, we will read them.
Not an issue. I have a couple set up here. So you guys all went through the same journey, working throughout your scripts. I'd like to get an idea of what was the most challenging aspect of signing up with the 3MT and the journey that it came through to today. Whoever goes first. Brittany, perfect.
Okay, okay, thank God we can adjust it. So I'll be speaking on behalf of me and Alexandra, just because both of our research involve vulnerability and opening ourselves and our stories. So while you probably have not noticed us when we were presenting, but one of the challenges for us was to talk from the heart. And the reason why I say that is because Ruth Behar talks about vulnerability in her research, and she says that the hardest part about research is opening up our vulnerability and talking what's from our heart to the research. And that is one of the hard part. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Brittany. I can only imagine how hard it is to discuss these things and to research them and to put yourself out there. Great job. Now I see next we have a couple of Zareen. Zareen wanted to also share her experience.
So, hi. So for me, there were two most challenging aspects of participating in 3MT. One was balancing between, my day-to-day course and thesis works and 3MT. I mean, you do have to put in some amount of commitment if you have to perform well. And the second one was, which is very obvious to me, was trying to make my research more understandable to everybody. Because when I see people from the same field and when I talk to them, I would just use terms like electrons, photocatalysis, excitations, and blah, blah, blah. But a person working in the other field may be confused, like, what is she actually talking about? So yeah, that was one thing that where we all had to work in, where we all had to actually whack our brains at it and get to it. But yeah, those are the two most challenging aspects that I faced so far. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Zareen. Indeed, making it generalizable and understandable without oversimplifying it is a huge challenge, part of it for sure. We're bringing on to my next question. Does anyone else have a question?
There's a question here, yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Hi, so congratulations to everyone. I just want to ask, maybe someone wants to share your view, whether participating in the 3MT, it has shaped your research, or if it has changed it in any way.
Okay, so thank you so much for your question. I think the short answer is yes.
it helped me shape my research because as I'm working in resilience planning, and it's a very hot topic right now with climate change. And as an architect, I was always had this idea that people should be a part of designing and planning their cities and communities. So one part of this competition is how to deliver your research idea to a lot of people who are not really in the field of resilience, and they don't understand the exact terminologies that we use and everything. So simplifying my research to the point that people understand it, but not too much that dilutes its real message, that was something that this competition helped me do. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ahmed. Now we have Snigdhodeb that also wanted to share a bit of how it shaped his research. So I'll give the microphone to him.
My journey begins from India, and when I was young, I used to accompany my grandfather to nearby streams, and every time when we'll go for each year round, there was always a time where we'll see that the fish are depleting over the times. So I really wanted to create the vibrations, and also because I am also working in the climate nexus, like climate, society, and human, how we can convey those conversation to the people where it really matters, and how that sustainability can be broad enough. So through 3MT, I was able to channelize my thought and to better present the overviews of sustainability and to reach out to the broader audience where it really matters. Because at the time, the climate change is happening, and it's happening really fast. We really need to act fast, otherwise it will be too late to feel that silence over time. So 3MT really helped me over the course to show that the communications can be done in a better way and to reach out to the broader audience without jargon free. Thank you.
Thank you, Snigdhodeb. Any other questions? Javier?
We did have a question online, which I
Oh.
think is for Hamideh. Joshua is asking is mentioning, I really liked the MRI presentation, very interesting research, and wanted to know if you got feedback from people who tried her application after their MRI and what they might have said. Hamideh is just coming up.
Okay, hello again. Actually, in one of our user study, we have some participants who tried my application before their real MRI, and all of them mentioned that the application was really helpful because some of the patients even don't know how to breathe when they are lying inside the scanner, because when the clinical technician told you that you need to stay still inside the MRI for, I don't know, up to 90 minutes, 30 minutes, whatsoever, some of them even have fear about, okay, if I breathe like this, so my image would be with low quality or something like this. So in one of my applications, I even learned them how to breathe and how to stay still inside the MRI. So yes, it was helpful for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamideh. Javier?
We have a question here from Javier.
Thank you. Guess my name is no now. I have a question for everyone because we've heard about some of the challenges and a little bit of that, but I'm curious about hearing any of the aha moments that you had throughout the journey. So maybe it was a word that you were struggling to change, or part of the script that didn't fit but you made it fit, or what was the highlight or the aha moment in the journey? If anyone likes to share. Thank you.
see. Oh, Snigdhodeb again is heading up to the microphone. Perfect. Come on, come.
Again, anyways, so there was a line in my presentation when I speak about my topic and all. So there was a line like, for a long time, climate change felt distant, and until I heard that silence. Then there was a vacant space, like, because I was trying to connect with that missing fish of is the brook trout. So there was a vacant space. And I was thinking, like, because you can say that I'm kind of a night owl, and it was around 2 p.m. and then take 2 a.m. in the night, midnight. So that time, one line came up, like the best climate forecasters, I know, they don't wear suits, they have fins. So it really connects the message. So it just popped up in my mind, and that's how we connect the breeze. That's how you connect the flow of the words, you can say. And that's how we move forward, because we really wanted to convey how the sustainability is working, how the environment is working, and it's not about the modeling. It's not about only the climate modeling stuff or the researches, what is going on in the labs, but we should more focus on the natural settings where in the field, it doesn't goes like the lab ones, and it varies. So we really need to think what is really happening in the ground. And through that line, I was able to connect that message I really wanted to say to the audience, to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Arielle and Morningstar that wanted to share about their aha moment. So I will have them come to the mic.
I think my aha moment was really getting confirmation that I'm onto something when I had fellow participants asking me, what's your eligibility criteria? Can I be a part of this study? So that's kind of my aha moment where I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, people are really into this. So yeah, that was it. Thank you.
I think my moment where I realized that, especially during the 3MT speech where I changed it to connect it to what I was researching, was initially I kept talking about players around the world and how there's 31 million active daily users on Minecraft. And then I kept thinking about, trying to compile that into a speech in my research. But then I realized I was losing focus on what was important and where it started, which was with my own children, and how I was gaming with them and how their gaming ways were different from my own. So then when it came to the speech, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna put them in there instead, because they're the reasons why I wanna change the way gaming structures are incorporating these thoughts and processes for players to enact certain methods of play. And yeah, that was it.
Thank you, Morningstar. I'm getting word. Also, there's Comfort that also wanted to share. So we will.
Hi, everyone. My haha moment is very much related to the question you asked earlier, how 3MT shaped my thesis. When I was going through getting the script, I was also working on my research alongside and going through surveys and the result of consensus meeting. And while I was going through it, at a certain point, the word fit came to me while I was going through it. Okay, this is what my research is. This is the significance. This is what I should interpret it as. And it was because I was going through it for 3MT that came to me. So it was an aha moment, not just for 3MT, but for my thesis. So, thank you.
Incredible what these competitions make you realize, right? Any other questions from the audience or the Zoom chat?
There was a question, I believe it's for Duane, related to your work with flood map review, and they were asking for some more information, wondering if it was ever implemented successfully, or maybe in other countries or cities that could use it.
Question. He's coming.
Well, first, thank you for the question. Currently, it has been implemented. We've done our lab, so I'm part of the Concordia River Management Lab, and we have conducted, using the flood modeling approach for my research. It's been used in Nova Scotia. It's in talks to be used in BC, as well as in Sweden. However, it has only gone to that part so far. But the main goal of my research was to show that even though the flood maps are really updating in Quebec, they're still not considering how our river channels are changing. So this is where we could implement this in Quebec and hopefully across Canada, and then we could see how far it could go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Duane. So, any other questions, urgent questions? In there? No, I have a couple. You have, I'll go with one just for mine, just to keep everything going. So just, you guys learn all these skills, the coaching sessions, you spend multiple hours working on your script. These skills, how do you plan to apply them in your daily life? Anyone know? Anyone up to? Oh, we have Morning Star coming up. Okay. Okay, one more. Okay. I'm running through. This will be the last question. So.
One of the skills that I learned, and as Other has mentioned, is trying to be less technical about your research and more communicative, that you can engage with a wider audience. And I think what changed for me is yesterday, I was sitting with my son, I was talking about my research, and he was listening, not like in conversation with me, but just overhearing the conversation. And he was like, "Mom, why do you mention your children? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, because how you play with games is different from how I play." And he was like, "What do you mean?" So then I had to change my language and how I was talking and actually tell him, "Well, this is what you do in a game, and think about what that means to the world outside." And then he started asking questions like, "Oh, like when people bulldozer like in the environment and everything," I was like, "Yeah, that's it. That's where you're shaping your perspective about land, is if you're doing this within games, then you think it's okay to do it outside of the game." And then he started to realize what my research is about. So I think taking this skill and just changing how I talk about my research to a wider audience, I can also change it on how I talk about it with children as well, so that they understand what they're doing within games and how that could be translated into real life. Yeah.
That's so fun to hear. Thank you, Morningstar, for sharing. So now, before we head on to the next, I'd like one last loud round of applause for all our participants today. Really did a good job. So now, I will ask each one of the judges to come up. So first off, I would like to invite James to say what he needs to say.
So good afternoon, everyone. It's been an incredible honor to serve as one of the judges for the 2026 edition of Concordia's 3-minute thesis competition. With so many outstanding presenters across such a wide range of disciplines, arriving at our decisions has been incredibly difficult for all the judges. That said, I'm pleased to present the People's Choice Award to the individual who ranked highest amongst those who cast their votes, both online and in person. The voting was based on 3 criteria: comprehension, engagement, and communication. The recipient of the People's Choice Award for Concordia's 2026 3-minute thesis competition is Kayla Toledano. Kayla, can you please join me on stage to receive your award and to take a photo? Oh, there you are. Perfect. All right. Here you go. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Amazing. I will now invite Kathleen to say what she needs to say. Love this.
Thank you again to everyone. It was really inspiring to get to see what you all are working on. We had a very tough decision in terms of choosing our second runner-up, so we in fact ended up in a tie situation. So our first selected second runner-up is Morning Star Fayard. And our second runner-up is Comfort Akinfenwa.
Thank you. Now we all wonder what Mark's coming up here for. So I'm going to invite Mark to take the mic.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for this invitation to be part of the judging panel. Thank you to the organizers, and thank you to the presenters. As a chair and as a professor, it's very inspiring, and I'm sitting there feeling very proud of our Concordia students. So, congratulations, everyone. That said, I'm here to present the first runner-up at Concordia University's 2026 3-minute thesis competition, and that is Selina Di Nitto. Congratulations. And it's my honor to announce that the winner of this year's competition is Arielle Rousseau. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you. Amazing. So congratulations, winners. Oh. And now there's going to be the couple of thank yous, of course. So thank you all to each one of the participants for coming here today and having the courage to get to this competition stage. Really, you all are deserving of a celebration, for sure. So really good job. And then I'd like to also thank each one of the judges for taking the time here this afternoon to decide on our winners. It seems like it was very difficult. I can only imagine. And then also a special thanks to Grad Pro Skills coaches who built all these participants into whatever they have till today. Really great job. Great job with the coaches, so special thank you to them. So Athea Thompson, Busaya Ladipo, and Jacob Baby, you guys did an amazing job. And so good. And now a special thanks to also the guest coaches who were there in the final stages to give a little snippet of advice. So Jordan LeBel, Rasha Sheikh Ibrahim, special thanks. And I swear I'm on that list myself as well. So that was great. And I'd like to shout out to Rasha. You do an amazing job in organizing these events. She works crazily hard behind the scenes. Nobody knows this, but she's like running around. And she is so good at her job, so it wouldn't be the same without you. So thank you so much. Yeah. I'd like to also thank the audience for whoever came here on Zoom, in person. The event's not the same without your energy, without you all encouraging everyone. So I'd really appreciate you guys. You guys were a great audience. Thank you so much. And then last but not least, I'd like to thank the Forced Space for hosting the event. Every single year, you guys do an amazing job. I was talking to the people from this morning, like, oh, you guys run around this morning, gathering, making sure everything's okay. And it just makes everything run smoothly, and it makes the presenters do so much better. So just saying, you guys are amazing, and thank you every single year for hosting. You guys do an amazing job. So a nice little round of applause for Forced Space. And this concludes the 2026 3-minute thesis competition, and I will be happy to see you next year in 2027 to learn about the future research that is happening at Concordia and learn about the outstanding people that are working on their passions. It's amazing. So thank you so much, and feel free to snack, talk to the presenters, and thank you so much for coming, and thank you for joining in on Zoom and the YouTube link. We'll talk around. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Thanks for your questions. We're going to close up our Zoom. We're going to close up the live stream now, but this remains available on our YouTube channel. You can revisit it, and you can share it, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.